Yes, of course.
So Eddie Howe has just met the press down here at Newcastle United's Media Centre. We spoke last week about Alexander Isak being a doubt when we thought it was Eddie Howe playing some mind games, and to an extent he was, keeping Fulham a little bit confused about the selection. But today he probably brought more serious news to the table concerning Isak. I think he's a player that's instrumental to Newcastle being a success, and he was clearly not fit and firing against Fulham. The service was terrible, by the way, but I think really you look at where Isak is fitness-wise. He hasn't trained this week. That is the big issue for Newcastle. He's been taking painkiller injections. He didn't react well to those after the game. He was in a bad place. Eddie Howe just telling us that in there. And basically now he's got to make a decision on Isak. Does he continue to make him play through the pain barrier, getting those injections, and also, you know, risk and future injury potentially further down the line, or does he make a decision and rest him? Newcastle can't take injuries lightly, given what happened to a host of players last season where they were rushed back. No doubt about it. Sven Botman being asked to play on through an ACL injury at times, and ultimately end up having to go under the knife and being out long term. So Newcastle need to be careful with these situations. James Bunce came in as performance director at the start of the season. The injuries haven't gone away because of that. But the fact that Isak is a doubt is a huge blow for Newcastle going into a game which they need to bounce back from Fulham. So hopefully they can do that. And if they do, then it's going to be a fantastic weekend for the Newcastle fans. If they don't, then the inquest in what is going on at Newcastle continues. Perhaps the other talking point before we sign off here at the Media Centre is Anthony Gordon. Will he sign the new contract? It's understood that there is a contract in front of him. Newcastle desperate for him to stay. Obviously, he has been linked with Liverpool. That was in the summer. Liverpool showed some interest, but I think really when you're analysing this situation, it's an Anthony Gordon who hasn't found his best form at the minute. Newcastle may feel if he sits down and signs that contract, then that'll help him get back to that path. That was certainly what Eddie Howe was saying in there, that getting him settled down again is very important. We've seen what happened at the Euros. He didn't play, but during it there was that probably a realistic possibility that he could have went to Liverpool because Newcastle were desperate to sell. There was interest in Anthony Gordon, so it's got to be looked at and it's got to be deemed as a situation Newcastle needs to get sorted. I think since Anthony Gordon arrived at Newcastle, he had that bumpy start, then he was fantastic, then he got into the England team. Last season he really stood up and he was counted. This season kind of has not delivered in every game, but certainly loads of potential, certainly an opportunity for Eddie Howe to get at least this player settled down. It's going to be key to his tactics, especially if Alexander Isak does end up being injured for a while. Gordon's going to be that man to step up, so lots to discuss with Gordon, but certainly that contract at the minute sitting on the table unsigned.